Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Chats with Children. I hope you're safe and well. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Sanj Kumar, who's General Manager of ELRIG, and Melanie Leveridge, who is Chairperson at ELRIG and also Senior Director, Screening and Sample Management at GSK. And I'm delighted they've joined me as part of my Reflections and Forecasts 2021-2022 interview series to look back at the last 12 months and look ahead to this year as well from an ELRIG perspective. So first of all, Mel, Sanj, it's lovely to see you. A belated Happy New Year's. I hope you're well.
Happy New Year to you as well.
And I hope, and I hope the sun is shining where you are in your parts of the world, because it's sunny here in Surrey. So what about you? Where are you calling in from, Sanj, Mel?
Well, I'm Birmingham today as well. It's sunny. I hadn't realised. Yeah, it's gone sunny.
You looked out the window finally.
Yeah,
I'm just south of Cambridge, and yeah, the sun is shining here as well.
Fantastic. So glorious day over the UK, and there you go, people. A travel report, or weather report, I should say, for the UK as we start. Right. So let's start off with looking back at 2021. But before we do that, actually, and I nearly forgot, can someone give me a quick overview of ELRIG and what you do for those people not familiar with ELRIG UK?
Yeah, I can do that. No problem. So ELRIG UK is a not-for-profit organisation, as you know, Rizwan. And what we do is we put on conferences and networkings and webinars primarily for the drug discovery community in the UK. We have around about 12,000 people who subscribe to our mailing list. And we put on around about 15 events per year. 20 years old, going 20 years old, small team of 4 people only. We have a board that comprises different people from different industries, whether they're pharma such as Melis or biotechs, or within academic drug discovery, or indeed people who supply to that industry as well. And all our events are free to charge, free to attend, Rizwan. So we put everything on for free, and everybody's welcome.
Fantastic. Mel, you got anything to add to that?
No, Sanj did a fantastic job.
Good. There you go. Tick straight away, Sanj. That's a good start. So, looking back at 2021, though, how would you describe it in one word and why? So, Mel, do you want to kick off on that one?
Sure, yeah. I think roller coaster is the word that I would use, actually. So I like roller coasters as well, so that's probably why I thought of it. But I think we had some incredible highs last year. It was a challenging backdrop still, but some incredible highs from an ELRIG perspective. We had the drug discovery meeting back face to face, which was a real highlight of the year. And then, of course, for life sciences more broadly and science in general, the vaccine rollout globally, I think we have to celebrate as a real high. But also, the roller coaster analogy, lots of changes of direction. We had to adapt a lot through the year as the external environment was changing, and I think by the time we got to the end of the year, we definitely all felt like we'd done a few kind of spin cycles, and I think we all very much needed the rest at the end of the year. So
right, thanks.
Roller coaster is my word.
And Sanj, what about you?
I've gone for encouraging. I think 2020 was a hard year on ELRIG because we organised face-to-face meetings, and then when the pandemic hit and lockdown happened, we had to stop that, and we had to spin on a dime. We really had to change direction and go completely virtual, which we did very successfully. It also gave us a time to pause and reflect and really define what we were about as well. We had the breathing space then to relook at our strategies and redefine our objectives and then the strategies to meet those objectives and set ourselves some goals. So we entered 2021 with a very clear idea of where we wanted to go. But then as Mel said, we didn't know how we were going to implement that because we were in that roller coaster part of the year. But having said that, the first half of 2021 was virtual. All our meetings were virtual again. And we switched around September to go back to face-to-face.
Yeah.
The momentum and the engagement we got from the community to say, great, come back face-to-face was really encouraging. What we were trying to do in terms of putting out scientific content that's free to access to the community to support in some parts the COVID pandemic that Mel mentioned as well. We got tremendous feedback. It was very encouraging again, but I think the biggest success was the drug discovery meeting. It was held in Liverpool in October. You were there, Rizwan. You had your fancy camera and you went around.
Don't forget the orange trainers, Sanj.
You met about 1,000 delegates while you were there. There were 1,000 people who said, we want to go back to face-to-face. There were over 100 vendors, and there were over 90 speakers, all who wanted to go back to face-to-face. So I came out of 2021 very encouraged.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, how has the pandemic, I mean, I know you've touched on it already to a degree, but how has the pandemic impacted ELRIG in the last 12 months?
Yeah, as I said, 2020, we had to change the way we delivered the content. We had to go virtual, we had to go digital. And we learned very quickly what we could do well and how that would work well and so forth. But what we also learned was actually the core of ELRIG is that face-to-face networking, that interaction, that ability to go and ideally shake somebody's hand or certainly meet them face-to-face. It re-cemented our purpose. So all the pandemic actually did for us was, again, Mel alluded to this, and I'll let her say more on that, but we were at the heart of that, of the fight against the pandemic. Our community was at the heart of that. Some of our members were awarded and recognized by the wider community for their contribution to that as well. So it was important for ELRIG to continue to contribute content to help support that. We did that. But what we learned at the end of the day, that the way we do that best is in our face-to-face meetings. Mel, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, I'd echo all of that. I think I was really impressed with the way we were able to pivot the content online and and adapt in that digital environment. And I think we have some real successes from that we continue to build on. But as Sanj said, I think it's the real highlight for me last year was that buzz around the drug discovery meeting face to face again. So yeah, certainly, as you say, cemented that is what the community want, and that is the best way for the community to engage with each other.
Yeah, well, I think there is a real appetite for people to get face to face. I think, like you said, they just depends where the companies allow them to go, and also how safe the events are seen.
Absolutely.
Before the intent. So let's talk about some of the achievements in for ELRIG, because despite all of what we said about the pandemic and so on, there have been some great achievements for ELRIG over the last 12 months. So what are some of the key achievements that have stood out for you?
So we've touched on the big one already, which is that that drug discovery meeting, and you mentioned coming together but in a safe way, and I think for me, the team, Sanj and the team did a fantastic job of putting on that event that enabled the community to come back together, but in a way that felt really safe, and that we were looking after people as well. So the buzz around that exhibit hall and in the scientific talks was incredible. So that was a real highlight for me. Beyond that, I think we've talked a bit about the digital content. We launched a career zone on the ELRIG website last year, and that's the start of something which will grow and build momentum through this year. But starting to really build on that digital pillar of our strategy, something that I think we should really celebrate. And then also, this is a community that works around collaborations and partnerships, and with ELRIG there's other organisations, like-minded organisations that we partner with, and I think we really had some highlights last year around kind of evolving and growing our partnerships. So we had the first joint meeting with the British Pharmacological Society, and then we also started a new partnership which I'm really excited about with SLAS, the Society for Lab Automation and Screening, and we're going to see more from that this year. So I think, yeah, lots of highlights for me. I could keep going on, but there's plenty to celebrate, I think, despite it being still quite a challenging year.
Sure. And what about you, Sanj? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is that I really felt ELRIG found its voice in 2021. I think ELRIG has been a little organisation which had a real need, but run by volunteers. And then one of the things that the board decided to do at the beginning of 21 was engage a fully professional team to support ELRIG as employees, and I'm one of those employees. And that helped us to not only to focus, but then to really continue the momentum behind the organisation. And we found our voice. We were able to go out and communicate what we do and why we do it. We even found a little bit of authority as well, because one of the other initiatives that we started was to look at equality, diversity and inclusivity within our community, which is really important. The diversity in science is important. If you do a clinical trial, make sure that the people within that trial represent a diversity of the community. So suddenly ELRIG was able to influence that and talk about that and bring that to the fore as well. So we really found our voice in 21.
Brilliant. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you though, because I think as an organization, you're ideally placed to talk about this, is what were some of the industry development stories and trends that stood out for you? Because you, as you said, you put on your events, you put your conferences on, you get all these people sort of submitting papers and talks. So I think, you know, you are well placed to sort of talk about what some of the key things have come out of drug discovery in the last 12 months. So would you be able to sort of touch on anything on that, Mel?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, I think the obvious one, you know, I'd be remiss of me not to mention it, of course, would be, you know, the development of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Sure.
But, you know, I think beyond that, the demonstration of that mRNA vaccine technology and showing the promise of that. You know, I think that's incredibly exciting, and you know, now we're seeing that being adapted to the variants. And you know, if you'd said before the end of 2020 and into 2021 that you could develop a new vaccine in 100 days, people would have thought you were mad. But you know, now that's our scientific reality, so that's incredibly exciting. You know, I think for the ELRIG community, I think what we also saw, and Sanj alluded to this earlier, was that some of the lab automation and the technologies that we're typically talking about in the context of kind of early drug discovery, we saw a lot of that being pivoted to the diagnostics and to the COVID testing.
Right.
We had a great keynote at the drug discovery meeting from Rob Howes on establishing a testing centre, and all of the tech and, you know, the liquid handling and you know, the skill sets are all readily transferable from what we typically talk about in ELRIG. So really nice to see that those kind of two areas of science and technology starting to synergise a bit more, I think. And then finally, you know, I think as people were working more remotely, thinking about what does that kind of hybrid model look like for a scientific organisation or community, I think we've seen a lot more discussion around the role of lab automation in general. But in particular, you know, remote access to that automation, remote access to our data, and, you know, how can we do some of the science from a remote environment? And so that kind of, you know, that lab of the future conversation, which has been bubbling for a while, but I think last year saw that accelerate. I'm sure we'll see more of that as we go into this year as well.
Brilliant. Sanj, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm going to matrix across what Mel said. Mel's talked about each of the meetings. You know, we have around about 15 events organised for 2022, and each of those meetings has a specific scientific topic. So automation is actually one of them. But we have our first meeting of the year taking place. It's all about CRISPR in drug discovery. So each meeting has its own scientific agenda program. But across each of the meetings, we have these threads running, which represent different segments of the ELRIG community. So, for example, across each meeting, we'll talk about early career professionals, and I think that's very important. There's a trend now is to look at an individual's progress from a career point of view within our industry. So we're very keen on ensuring that early career professionals can contribute into ELRIG and be seen and heard as well. We have the vendor community. Vendors they supply the technology that enable our community as well, and will ensure that they have a thread going across all our meetings as well. And then finally, another interesting part of our community and a trend that we saw from 2021, which I haven't really pulled out yet, but we are going to work on that, is a thread going across all meetings for the CRO community, the contract research organisations. Interestingly, out of the 12,000 people that we have on our mailing list, around 10 to 15% work within the CRO industry, and they come to our meetings, and we want to ensure that they're represented and taken care of as well. So we'll take the learnings from 21 and put that into 2022.
Yeah, don't remember what year it is. I know what it's like, don't worry. I'll still be writing 2021 on my post and have to change it, thinking, oh my God, no, it's 2022. So what am I doing? So anyway, now looking ahead to 2022, though, I mean, you've alluded to a bit of that in your previous answer, but what are some of the hot topics in the life science sector in 2022 that we can expect to see at the ELRIG events?
Yeah, so so we've alluded to some of them, but we've seen lots of enthusiasm and engagement around the CRISPR topic, and that meeting's been a really popular one over the past few years. We've got that coming back again at the beginning of March. And I think this year we're going to see a focus really on the output of many of those kind of CRISPR screening campaigns, starting to see some of the output of those moving into target validation, and then also a topic around CRISPR as a therapeutic, which actually will pop up both in the CRISPR meeting and also at the Research and Innovation meeting at the end of March as well. And then RNA, we talked about the mRNA vaccines, but actually RNA more broadly is going to be, I think, a continued theme and hot topic through this year. Targeting RNA, RNA-based technologies, RNA therapeutics, and again, we've got a track on that at the RNI meeting at the end of March. And building on that, so Sanj talked about some of the threads that will run through the meetings, and one of those scientific threads this year is going to be around novel modalities.
Right.
So RNA is one of those, but also thinking about targeted protein degradation, therapeutic oligos, for example. So again, lots of tracks and sessions on that at meetings throughout the year, but starting with the CRISPR meeting and RNI coming up in March.
Fantastic. And Sanj, I think you pretty much covered it in your previous answer, but is there anything else you want to add to that?
The only thing is I'll just go back to what Mel said earlier about our partnerships that we have upcoming, which it started in 21, will continue in 2022. The British Pharmacological Society, we're running a joint meeting with them, translating ideas into therapies. That will be in July in the CRIC. And also SLAS, we're working with them this year to run a joint meeting, both in Novartis in Basel, but also in robotics and automation meeting, which will take place at the end of the year in Germany. So we're gonna widen our reach as well as the content with these partnerships.
Fantastic. And what else can we expect from ELRIG this year? I was going to say next year, but yeah, it is this year.
Well, we're going to continue to grow, Rizwan. I think we're going to try and get that message out as far as wide as we possibly can. We have 15 events organised. We have partnerships organised. We have a wide, broad set of science content to take out there, and we're going to try and reach all segments of our community as well. So you'll see a lot more from ELRIG, from my point of view, certainly this year.
Fantastic. All right. Well, so just finally, what final thoughts would you like to leave the viewer for 2022? So who would like to kick that off? Silence.
I mean, yeah, simple, really, I guess, from my perspective, just really looking forward to connecting with you all at ELRIG events in the not too distant future. I think we've got lots of exciting content for you, and lots of scientific discussion that I'm excited to take part in.
And it's all planned to take face-to-face, and it's all free of charge. So please do join us.
Fantastic. What a great way to finish. It's exciting, great content, and it's free. So yeah. Fantastic. All right. Look, I wish you both a fantastic 2022, both for yourselves, for your families, and obviously for the business as well. So have a fantastic 2022. It's lovely working with you, and I wish you lots of success. Viewers, if you'd like to know more, please check out the links, which will be, I've always got to remember this, above the video. But if you've got any questions for Sanj or Mel, well, then please leave them below the video and they'll be happy to answer them. But all I can say is have a fantastic series of events this year. Enjoy your trip to SLAS. Hopefully I'll see you in Boston as well for that. And have a fantastic 2022. And viewers, thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. If you want to know more about ELRIG, as I say, check out the links. Leave any questions for Sanj and Mel. And until next time, as always, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks.